Remember, call this meeting the Brown County Commission to order. We'll start with the pledge. Commissioner Sutton, would you lead us in it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Glad to see everybody stood.
Yeah. Don't take a knee there, Fishback. All right, welcome to this morning's meeting. Appreciate Gary Schlosser and Troy Millard for coming to join us for the joint meeting with the Frederick City Council. First on the agenda, we've got the ordinance 104 and 199, Assumption Rezone, first reading.
Do you want to I can just read it.
Perfect.
A public hearing will be held by the Frederick City Council and the Brown County Commission on the 27th day of September 2016, beginning at 8:45 a.m. in the County Commission Chambers, 25 Market Street, to consider the petition filed by Taylor Assumption to amend Title IV, Second Revision, Brown County Ordinances to rezone the following described property from its present zoning designation of Chapter 406 Mini Ag to Chapter 414 Highway Commercial District. Said property described as lots 3 and 4, Schlosser Assumption Addition in the west half, northwest quarter of Section 11, Township 127 North, Range 64 West to the 5th p.m. The street address is 38604, Brown County 10A, and 38609, 107th Street in Frederick. And this is meeting for first reading.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on this on behalf or for or against this? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve. Moved by Commissioner Feldman. Seconded by Hanson. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
And then you need to make a motion.
On your guys' behalf.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries on their side.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you
gentlemen.
guys so much for taking the time.
Thanks for coming in.
And see you next week. If you want, I'll take those and then I'll hand them out again next week for second reading and possible adoption.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Yeah, might as well.
So you don't lose them. Thank you.
This is Gary Schlush.
On the right, or on your left.
Gary here in this chair.
The one, the black sweatshirt. The other was Troy.
All right, so then we've got a couple minutes before our 8:50 adoption. So do you want to do one or two things on your list?
Okay, minutes from September 20th general.
Everybody? Okay.
Second.
Motion by Sutton, seconded by Fishback. Any questions or amendments to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries.
Claims.
Move.
Second.
Motion by Sutton, seconded by Hanson. Did everybody get the chance to go through those? And is this a new format we have? It looked like the spreadsheet looked a little different. Is this from the new?
I think they put an extra sheet in there.
Dave did it, so I'll check with him.
But it's the same as this?
They're both in.
Yeah.
I just noticed we
The
did.
department sheets weren't here.
Oh, that's
When I looked at it, one was a detailed and one was the actual.
Auction. They were just worried about rain, so they have
Oh.
it at the expo.
they did end up having it there? Okay.
I need my calculator.
Did anybody
No,
have any
I mean my
questions on the
big one.
claims?
Oh.
It's easier for me.
That was just an extra one. That
Okay.
was Lynn's copy.
Sounds good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. That brings us up to 8:50, adoption of the 2017 annual budget. Do we have a thing or two that need to be changed in there, or?
Yeah, you need the motion for the changes before you adopt it. The only one I'm aware of is to add the spending authority and estimated revenue for the STIP money, the $389,000, and that is reflected in your new copies.
Now, do you want each one of these voted on or as a whole?
Well, if there's there's any other changes, you would have one motion on all the changes.
Okay, then Gary,
There was one more that you had discussed previously in regards to the sheriff's department. They resubmitted their numbers. It was discussed that the 7% retirement would cover. Basically, what they're looking at is there was a change of $14,011.99 difference between the 7 and 8% that Max had given them in the jail department, and a $3,572.46 on the sheriff's department's budget.
So they're changing it to that number, or they
Yeah,
to increase
those
it,
are
that number?
Correct, and it reflects that in the sheets there.
Okay, I've got the numbers. The
So-
first one, the 14,000 was for what?
Jail.
Jail, and the second one is sheriff. Okay.
And these two numbers, the 1,689,971, reflect that in there? These are in there already?
Okay, so the
We'd
new
have to add those
budget
into this.
amount is what for both of them?
It shows on the sheets there.
So we have $1,409,188.12
For which one?
jail.
Wait, that's
That
can't be
can't be
right.
right.
That's
That's
12,000
what we
less.
show.
I think they're talking,
And then they minus the old number, and that's how they got the 14?
Okay,
Doesn't show it on
1409.
the other sheet.
Oh, that's just the line item?
yeah.
You should
Maybe we should call them up here
call
and
Sandy and, or
Thank you.
have them come up here.
I'll do that.
Morning, Brett.
Good morning.
Hey, Brad.
Well, I can add it too, there's no sense in
Okay.
coming over for it.
That was their difference, is what they said was,
Okay, so I'll add it, and so I will be
These will be
giving,
different.
that, the front page will not be different.
Okay,
Just the documentation behind that sheet and the cheat sheet will be different.
okay, I'm just gonna leave
And-
these out here, Max, the rest are,
Okay,
and then they corrected,
okay,
Sure,
The
so,
first two pages are gonna be different?
yeah.
Okay.
no, that'll be the same,
Okay.
yeah.
This pile underneath it and this will be different.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. That'll be different.
Okay.
The whole
Apologize
7
for
pages.
this code.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so, the STIP money, add in additional for the 50 cents for the state retirement, or the 25 cents for the state retirement. Oops.
Any other questions on the budgets?
25 cents or the dollar amount?
So
Percentage?
why doesn't that change front page?
It will.
7-8%.
I think she said these.
See, yeah, it's just the 1% that I did not
Yeah, I know
include
what it is.
on the second quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's on the 25 cents. Any other?
Anything
That
else?
much.
All right, well, we've got the two changes, the 389,000 for the STIP and the jail and sheriff's office.
I'll move those changes.
I'll second it.
Moved by Sutton, seconded by Hanson. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That brings us up to 8:55. We've got ordinance 103, the
No,
Clipfield.
you need to adopt the budget.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We got the two changes made.
Yeah.
Now
I'll
for the
move
big one.
adoption.
Moved by Hanson,
Second.
seconded by Feldheim. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, now we're up to our next item. Ordinance 103, the Clipfield rezone. Do you guys have that? Did you get a
Yep.
chance to look at it?
No.
I'd move that, approve that.
Okay, motion by Fishback,
Second.
seconded by Sutton. Is there any questions on that rezone? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So we're done with that one.
Yep.
Okay. And then
back to your list, Matt.
HR report.
Moved by Feldheim,
Second.
second by Hanson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Plats, Groton, Maynard, Dutenhofer, Hazelhorst, and Heiser.
Move it.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
seconded by Hanson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Set hearing date for ordinance number 105, it's Fonder rezone, and first reading will be October 18th at 8:45 a.m.
Move.
Moved by Hanson,
Second.
seconded by Feldheim. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
There was a lease agreement for Jark Worley auction service.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Feldheim, seconded by Fishback. Questions on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The restated amended agreement for the racetrack and their renewal option for 2017.
I'll move it.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
seconded by Hanson. Questions on that agreement? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Is this the third year in that then?
Yeah.
Yes. 2017 will be the third year.
How many options was there?
2019, there was
They go to
2019.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anything, Gary?
I dropped off a letter this morning that the sheriff's just brought over for purchasing a console for the jail control room, $11,503, a Telex dispatch console to go into the new control center of the jail, and so they just wanted to let you know the amount and that Paul's budget should be able to take care of it. So.
And that's off the state bid?
Correct. So yeah, they're the only ones that provide the council.
So what does that do for efficiency for them? What is the big factor? I mean, what is it?
You can pretty much read off the letter there that states how it will help with communication.
We would like to add a Telex dispatch console that will be tied into the existing radio system and controls used by Brown County Communications. Currently, the task is accomplished with the jailers using handheld radios. Moving the workflow to the lower levels of the building has potential to limit our ability to communicate with the outside world. Our new jail radio channel will allow us to improve communication within the jail, but with limited range. This forces the control room operator to serve as the point of contact with the outside world for the jail. The purchase will give the correctional officers operating the control room access to all the radio traffic necessary to accurately and safely complete their tasks. We will have a radio console in the jail control room again. This will give us access to all 9 radio channels currently used for public safety in our area. This is a much more efficient way for the controller to coordinate with all the local and state officers bringing arrests to the jail, not to mention EMS personnel. The console in the control room will give the controller the situational awareness to keep the jail functioning efficiently. It also positions us for future radio updates. It will eliminate the need for the jail to buy additional radio equipment other than handheld radios. If a new radio channel is in the dispatch system, it can be used in the control room too.
Does that mean they do away with their handheld radios then? Let's replace them?
I don't know if it'll replace them, it'll probably be used in conjunction with them, but it assures that they'll have communication regardless if there's issues with the radios from there to the basement of the jail.
Probably like a dead zone or something. Yeah.
It says we eliminated $7,000 that wasn't necessary for the jail needs. CIO Stevenson said the technology portion of the remodel is significantly under budget and there should be room in the line item for this purchase.
That's information only, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't need,
We don't need
yeah, I
anything then.
think we can just, we don't need a motion on that then, huh? Since it's part of the remodel.
Unless you want to authorize the expenditure. I don't remember what the policy said.
Must be more comfortable with a motion from us.
It was pretty much, it just states that they make you aware of it and that you're fine with spending it basically.
Does anybody have a problem with them spending this?
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditure.
Okay, a motion by Sutton.
Now, second,
Seconded by-
communications better be pretty vital down
Yeah.
there.
Seconded by Hanson. Any questions on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Anything else, Gary? Oh, we're up to 9 o'clock. Just one sec here. Derek Ritchie, the fair manager with the 2016 fair report. Is Derek with us?
He's there, I see him.
It's right there in the back. Yeah.
Good morning.
I have homework for all evening.
Uh-oh, look out. We asked for it, here it is.
Okay, you organize it so we don't mess it up anymore.
Well, I have to accept 50% of the responsibility for that. So this will be for the commissioners. Basically, this is just a general overview, recap. Now that we're dialed into numbers a little bit more, specifically, we can start projecting fairly closely. Tab 1 will be our kind of overall revenue recap. It's something that we track internally and have been since '09. You'll see on the bottom left, those will be the budget numbers year over year starting in 2011. And then the totals just above that will be the revenue totals year over year. This is going to be an important document because as we start going through and talking about some of the numbers specifically within each area, carnival, gate attendance, and then concert attendance, we'll be able to call back to this. Now, these revenue numbers do not reflect the concession override or licensing fee, if you will, from the clubhouse for hockey. We are in the process of trying to obtain those numbers, but we don't have them yet. And there's roughly about another $3,000 in sponsorship that will come in. That's been invoiced, but revenue has not been realized. So, final projection should be about $1,043,000. That puts us about 3% below where we were last year. Now we'll go into the rest of the guts. We'll go into section 2. That's our ticket recap, basically by ticket category. So it talks about individual revenue. It talks about, on the left-hand side, you'll see the ticket outlets are going to be all the way on the left, and that stays the same in every single category. So it'll be Ken's, Kessler's, Hitchin Post, Fun, Auditors, all the way through. If there is a zero number, then it does not show there. I want to point out the Mercy Me subset there. There's been some discussion over whether or not people actually utilize the tickets that they purchase. This is a direct, and we could show you multiple reports coming out of the system where people bought tickets and then didn't use them. In this particular case, we had a local church that purchased 100 tickets to give away to just common people, patrons, things like that. And you'll see there that there were 12 out of those 100 that weren't redeemed. So sometimes folks don't even redeem a free ticket. So as we start going through some of these numbers, there may be questions because in some cases the numbers are as high as 9 to 10% for an individual event where people had purchased a ticket but then not used it. So you'll see there, using that number on 100, it was a 12% non-redemption rate. So but feel free to look through that as you wish. And then on the back side of that page, it breaks down the single concert tickets day by day. We don't lump them all together because we track day by day for what our attendance looks like. Do we see certain trends? Do we see certain scales? As we start compiling this level of data year over year, we'll be able to make some better decisions as far as entertainment, as far as what our projection is for people that are going to be in the grandstands as well. And then the final one is Demo Derby.
Interesting.
And then were you copied on that email with legislative audit? Basically, whenever we get the money is when we have to receipt it in. So if we decide we don't want to get it until the week right before the fair from the outlets, we can do it all at that point. If you prefer to do it monthly, you can, but we don't have to. Did you get that?
I think it's a horse apiece as long as people follow whatever process is
Okay.
outlined. I think it'll be.
So legislative audit made a ruling on that?
Well, they just, Rod Fortin gives his opinion after talking to Department of Revenue. They just said whenever you get the money and have it in hand is when you pay the sales tax on it. So if we opt to not go get it, and depending on how you're having it done, if Kessler's is just writing you one check for everything they've gotten, is that how it is?
Historically, that's how it's been. But whether or not we continue to do that in the future might be something that we may want to look at.
Sure.
But historically, they've settled up at the end and then wrote one large check. Yeah.
And I just think we need to have little things like that in our policy. Just this is how we've done it, and this is how we're going to continue, just for down the road if we, not that you're going anywhere, but if
No, but it's
new
good to
fair
have.
managers, new people getting involved know these simple things that,
Well, and that institutional knowledge is what may have been lacking prior to, so now you kind of have to not reinvent the wheel, but you're going back to the same people who've been involved in the process. And that's where you start hearing, well, we've never done it that way. And more of those conversations need to happen at the front end, too.
and so as far as receipts and everything, everything's been put into an account with the treasurer except for, you had mentioned there's a sponsorship still lingering, that 3,000?
Well, there's a couple of smaller sponsorships that add up to about 3,000.
Okay.
All monies have been delivered to the treasurer. Whether they've
And-
been deposited, I'm not sure.
So other than those, and then we still, we're working with hockey to figure that part of it out. Everything else is in there.
To my knowledge, yes.
And Centennial Village, I spoke to them, and they said within 2-3 weeks, hopefully, they'll have their numbers and
Okay.
check in also.
Why don't we
Even though
have-
their contract states not till the end of November, so.
Sure. Why don't you see what Tuesday might work? They can come tell us how things went on their end too.
Yeah.
Get them on the agenda.
Now we move to tab 3. Tab 3 is going to be the individual gate scans. These are the basically, for lack of a better term, the road ropes that lay over the ground that track how many people are coming in. It's broken down gate A through the main gate and then through gate F. Page 1 is going to be Tuesday through Friday. Page 2 is going to be Saturday, Sunday, and then the subsequent Monday. Now as we look, we see that the rain impacted quite a bit, but I want to point out some of the bolded numbers there. When you start running probability and statistic models into this reduction is not necessarily lack of people coming through. It's a combination of lack of people coming through and then also better traffic patterns. Because if you look at those two numbers, between the main gate and gate D, that's saying approximately 10,000 cars came through. And during that same time period, we're saying that it dropped to 7,500. Now, that's a pretty significant drop when you're looking over the course of 14,000. So I think those numbers are going to be skewed, and we'll start to see what those true numbers look like in the next couple of years now that we've redesigned Gate D to have them enter in just south of Centennial as opposed to coming up and then having to turn around. So I think we're getting a lot of repeat markings coming through from people just making a loop. So the
Are
numbers
you
were
having
there.
the folks that are volunteering clicking them?
No, this is the cars coming in through the gates. These are the traffic counters that they put across the road to
Oh,
like.
gotcha.
Yep.
Asking the road to somehow,
Yeah.
pedestrian traffic sign or something.
We're talking to the city. It's very, very preliminary at this point, but figuring out, is there a way that we can block off 24th Avenue just the week of the fair between Gate D and Gate C? And then that way, if we do develop that partnership, folks could walk across and not have to worry about crossways traffic. So, but that's going to take us months, and it's not something that's guaranteed at this point. So.
2106, huh?
Which
You
one?
got your dates on the next one. Look at your
Carnival recap?
carnival recap.
Oh, you flipped ahead on me. Okay. Oh, okay, 2106. If you'll notice, that's blank.
I'm impressed.
We'll look at, this is tickets versus bands. I mean, it's pretty simple. Bands are all-day rides, tickets are the individual single ride tickets that folks purchase. If you look, that's where we're at. When you take that in combination with your foot traffic and then draw a direct line back to the concert, that's where you can see if those three numbers are fairly in the same range, then you know that there was an actual drop in attendance. If there are large swings between the three, then you have to look at the individual category and figure out, okay, what was it that caused that significant drop?
Do you think it was the ticket prices being raised? I mean,
I
I've
think it was a
heard comments,
combination.
you know.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I had some discussions with the Carnival folks. I thought that they were going to hurt their scale by going to 33 this year. That was negotiated into the contract by a predecessor, and so unfortunately we were bound by the terms of those contracts. But we've had some pretty lengthy discussions with them about that $25 price point kind of being the magic number. Once you start breaking that, you have a family of, let's say, 2 or 3 that says, okay, maybe I've gone 2 days in the past, but now, well, maybe we'll just go 1 day. So,
And I heard some comments like that, you know, money-wise,
yeah,
especially with the economy.
exactly. So we're having some discussions with them. They are up for renegotiation of the contract this year. So we'll have a little bit more firmer discussions on price points and things like that as we go forward.
I like your numbers, by the way, here.
And then our last one is, these are ticket scans. What we did is we compared 2015 to 2016, and this is part of that Trinity sequence that I talked about comparing concerts, carnival, and gates. When you look at the gate attendance for 2015 and 2016, you get a fairly similar picture. There are some challenges that I would ask about some of the data that was in the system. Maybe it was a typo. For example, Tuesday rodeo and Sunday demo. It seems odd that scans would exceed capacity, but it's possible that we had a significant oversold situation. I do know on Tuesdays for the past couple of years, from being on the board, we have had oversold situations, so that could be an actual number, but that's significantly over capacity at that point. So separating the rodeo ticket out, this data actually supports the fact that it was a good move to separate the rodeo ticket out and treat it separately. So. And then bottom right, you'll start to see the scans for 2016. That'll compare up to the 2015 ones that are on the left. And then when you go to the next page, you'll actually see the GA reserve and then what our revenue deltas were in terms of what revenue we could have realized. Now, had we gone back to the old pricing model, our revenue would have been down about $12,845. So the move to the new pricing model also seemed to be something that's going to help us with the future sustainability of this too as we grow these individual events. And on the very last page is the delta difference of scans from 15 to 16. So GA's, GSR is the Grand State Reserve, Rodeo A is Rodeo Adult, Rodeo C is Rodeo Child across both days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday A and Sunday C, Demo Adult, and then Demo Child. So you'll see on the Rodeo A and Rodeo C, they were up substantially. And then Sunday A and Sunday C, they were up substantially too as well.
That's good.
So overall, with the show clicks, you were satisfied this year?
I'm satisfied. As the program is only going to give you the information that you put in. So if you make mistakes in the input part of the process and there's no alerts to somebody to correct the problem, then you almost get into a Sherlock Holmes situation on the back end. Now, we can identify it, it just takes time. And I'll give you a specific example with Dakota Bank. They were the smallest selling outlet, but we were able to identify that there was one person and one check missing. And how we're able to do that is it's a three-step phase, but essentially what we do is we go and we look at what the total sales are, then we look at the total day-by-day sales for clerks. We figure out where our differences are on our report versus what they're reporting, and then we go into that each individual day and then audit each individual clerk at that point. Now with someone like Dakota Bank, it's fairly quick because it was one person selling. When you start looking at a Ken's or Kessler's, it becomes a lot longer process because you have as few as 12 and as many as 24 sellers. It's not to say that it cannot be done, but I think at the end of the day we'll be able to figure out every mistake that's happened. Some we may have to speculate, but you can see trends. And a trend that we saw in the retail outlets were that someone would come in and pay with a credit card, but they wanted a rodeo ticket and maybe a Mercy Me ticket was sold. Well, then now the customer notices that once they get it back, they want to exchange it out. The person doesn't call to refund the credit card because in a retail environment, you can give the person cash back, accept the cash payment, and then make the payment out of cash. It's a fairly common practice. But because our credit card system was separate, now it creates an off situation. But you'll see that the very next transaction should be a cash transaction. So when you see those two, and we even saw this with some of the folks that were selling during the week of like Nick Rhodes, for example, you could actually see in his timeline where that was the error that occurred. So now we can say, okay, this ticket was paid by credit card, it was not used, here's another exact duplicate transaction with one change, and it's paid by cash. Now you can go back and void out the credit card, but not refund it, because if you refund it, now you've refunded the credit card plus the cash. But even that, the level of complexity to the system, we have the ability to do that where we retain the credit card money, but void the ticket out. So then now your system's balanced. So yes.
Our Sarah Antonia is up on the the website as you are. I mean,
They're
you're very
getting
good at getting in there, getting the reports. I just think it's important that we have more than one person that can.
Yeah, we're getting there. Sonia's probably a little bit more ahead than Sarah, only because she's just had some more experience and seat time with it. As far as the comps, I've trained them both on how to do comps. Next year, we'll train them both how to do refunds. This year, given that we've had some challenges for the past couple of years with different things, either A, not matching, or B, revenue not matching, we had one control point for refunds, and that was me. So that way, if there was a refund or a void, I was aware of every single one. So that way, we couldn't get caught off guard. Now, in the future, now that we know what that process looks like, we can empower a few more people, but we're still going to keep that control to a small group that can do refunds or voids.
Anybody else have questions for Derek? So going forward, do we have you guys had a conversation at all? I know there was a few transactions that needed to be looked at and noted for legislative audit purposes. Do we get together and?
We're going to go back and do that internally first. And the reason being is that my viewpoint is that Max's audit should be independent of my input. So we should go through and do an audit so we're aware of what's going on, and then if there's a challenge after the fact, then Max's group can advise us if there's a better way to do it. But we should be functionally aware of any issues prior to. I mean, I don't necessarily think that I don't know is really an acceptable excuse if Max finds something and we're not aware of it. So.
Okay. And do you foresee having that done here in the next couple weeks?
Realistically, it's probably going to take about 30 days because we've gotten Ken's done, but now we have to go through Kessler's. And Kessler's has sold roughly 2.2 times what the next closest outlet did. So there's a lot more audits to do on theirs. So.
The report you gave the commission on August 30th, was that the final out of show clicks for the number of tickets sold and cash?
It's the final out of show clicks relative to what people have put in the system. Now, if there are mistakes that were made and inflated cash numbers or inflated check numbers based on people making a cash sale that shouldn't have been a cash sale.
But what about, the number of tickets sold?
Same answer. If somebody makes a mistake and sells a ticket and there's 2 tickets that shouldn't have been sold, that number's not going to be a true number because it's going to be 2 tickets higher than it should be. So once we get through the audit and we find those mistakes and correct them, we won't know what that final number is. But based on what every clerk has inputted to this point, yes, it's a true and accurate report.
So
That's and the only reason I have that report is because you gave it to the commission and I kind of grabbed a copy of it.
Sure.
Well, and you guys should have separate, checks and balance, but I think there's nothing wrong with if you give him a couple pointers on check here, make sure this is going to match up. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, basically from show clicks, I need to know the number of tickets sold for each event.
Yeah, we can provide that.
That's all I need.
Okay.
Because I know how much each ticket sold for.
Yeah. When we run the audit, what it will show is it will show each event independently. So you'll be able to see each event, how many tickets, what each price point was, what the fees were for both. And we kept the credit card fees and the service fees separate, so that way we could track that from a revenue standpoint. And then when you get to the bottom, it will show you total number of tickets sold, total dollars for service fees, total dollars for credit card. So as long as we're looking at the individual event first or the total, they're going to be interchangeable.
Yeah. And all I care about is the county dollars.
Right.
Right.
So the county dollars will not match the report because we have not identified all the mistakes that were made. They're minor in terms of the total overall, but there are some that are more concerning than others. So.
Okay. Any other questions for Derek?
So that won't be done for another 30 days?
At least. I have to basically unspin the entire program. And basically, to put it in perspective, Kessler sold roughly $220,000 worth of tickets. So what I have to do is break down how many tickets each of their people sold on a day-by-day basis, and then I have to first figure out what they're off for total dollar amount, and then I have to go into each individual day and look at each individual clerk. It can be done, it's just a time-consuming process.
So as far as sales tax, it'll be another 30 days out before we know how many...
No, rodeo is pretty true. The only one that does, and even if we file the sales tax based on the numbers we have today, we can always go back and amend the return later once we find these actual issues.
So that report from August 30th, I can take those rodeo tickets sold, and that is the amount of money that should be in Treasurer's Trust for the rodeo tickets?
Correct. Because, I mean, we're kind of, it's a splitting of hairs at this point, because whether we have the money, whether it comes from a rodeo sale or whether it comes from a concert sale, the tax is still due based on the revenue of what we've said we've sold.
Right.
Right.
And I base that on the number of tickets sold.
Right.
I don't care if they were credit card, cash, or check. It's the total number of tickets
Right.
available and the total number of tickets sold.
Well, if we run the event audit, it will literally tell you the exact dollar amount that for,
Right.
and that'll
And
include
I
individuals
believe
and credit card fees.
that's the report you gave the commission on August 30th.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what we'll need to do too is factor in the sales tax on the service fees and the credit card fees too as well, because those, and that will be across the board.
They don't, I mean, all you need is your total tickets sold and your total cash
I understand.
to establish your sales tax. You
Correct.
don't need it broken out by credit card.
No, but
and-
I'm saying across all sales, not just rodeo. We'll have to pay sales tax on credit card fees and on service fees across the board, not just rodeo.
And that's up to Avalon to figure that. I do
That's
not.
up- That's up to us because we actually took the credit cards.
But I don't audit that. I have nothing to do with the credit cards.
Okay.
Okay,
Just
so
the
let's
number of
talk
tickets
on,
sold.
But
Yeah.
I guess I'm asking who's responsible for paying the sales tax, because technically the county is responsible for paying the sales tax on that revenue.
But I can't determine that number.
Sure we can. because
Big-
we
yeah.
have- We have it in the report that says exactly what the credit card fees are.
Yeah.
why don't we, after the meeting, we'll figure out what that number is, because if it's on the report, then it shouldn't be tough to figure that out, and we'll get
We should
together
get
here
it-
shortly.
yes.
Get that going. Okay. Any other questions for Derek?
Will ShowClicks make that, make the Kessler report a simpler matter for you so it doesn't take so long next time?
Well, historically, the group, typically you sell through one box office. We're unique in the sense that we have multiple box
That's
offices
what I
in
mean,
multiple
yeah.
locations. So we're working on them in a beta test now to see if we can, and if we can sort it by user group. So
Okay.
we're working on it, but it's technically not there yet.
Okay.
Now, we can
Nice to be
export it.
simpler for you.
Now, we can export it to an Excel sheet and sort through there. So it's not necessarily that it's hard, it's just a little
Time
time
consuming,
consuming.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, so we got a couple things we'll work on there. Any other questions on the data that Derek provided?
Thank you.
All right, appreciate you coming in this
Thanks.
morning.
Appreciate your time.
Yep.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks, Derek.
That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. Gary, did you have any other items?
I just need a quick exec for personnel.
Okay, is there a motion to go into exec for personnel? Moved by
Second.
Hanson, seconded by Sutton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll be in executive session.
Pick up the heater on.
We're back, and we will let Max know there's no action as a result of exec.
Shannon's wearing a coat.
It's chilly. It is
These two
chilly.
guys, the farmers, are complaining that it's cold.
Well,
Is there anything else to come before the commission today? Anything from the folks in attendance? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move it.
Moved by Fishback, seconded by Hanson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll be adjourned. Thank you.
Fishback Hanson will let Max know.